All right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, it's still Daybreak Africa. And yes, we told us before we went on that report that we're going to be having a very, very sensitive topic today to discuss, as well as very exciting, segments to the program. But now it's time to actually discuss, and we'll be looking at a very topical issue in the Nigerian and the African polity as we speak. It's something that has to do with gender-based violence. If you understand that recently the wife of the president, in the person of Senator Oluremi Tinubu, drummed support for, anti-gender-based violence. And to discuss with us today in the studio, we have a cinematographer, an editor, someone who is vast in issues like this, in the person of Mr. Sylvester. Welcome to the show, Mr. Sylvester.
Thank you, Joshua.
Now, talking about gender-based violence, we know we are in a country where, people talk about misogyny. Feminism is on the rise these days, actually, but looking at it because of the fact that we have different genders, majorly two genders according to the African, let's leave it at two genders according to the African polity. We know when we get to a broader sense, we have multiple genders according to the psychology of some people, which we are not going to go there deep. But looking at it in Africa, we have majorly two genders, the female, the male, and according to the genders of each person, there are some peculiarities attached to it. Now, talking about gender-based violence, many will say majorly the females, due to their kind of gender and the peculiarities attached to their genders, have experienced more of this in the place of violence. But now, to your perspective, what do you term gender-based violence as?
Gender-based violence is broad, but simply is when you tend to hurt people that maybe people you claim to love. Gender-based violence, you claim, especially hurting, it may not necessarily be physical, hurting the person physically, it may be emotionally or psychologically. So it's vast, like I said, but the bottom line is when you hurt people around you, or people you love, or people you are supposed to care for.
I tend to wonder the various forms of gender-based violence, because I generally believe it's only when a fist tends to touch one's face that should be classified as violence. What are the various forms of gender-based violence?
You see, violence, gender-based violence per se, like I said before now, is not just about punching or grabbing someone's neck,
which happens to do with the physical.
So yes, there is a way you can kill someone from the inside with what you say, your words. That's also violence in a way. Anything that could bring down someone, emotionally, like you kill someone's self-esteem, with what you say or your actions. It may not necessarily be what you say, but your actions toward the person. You may not say something, but silently, the way you act toward this person, and like demoralize the person. Self-worth, as in whenever you step into the picture, when the person sees you get the person is no more his or herself. So that is just it. Your actions, like emotional, trauma, causing someone emotional trauma, and then you maybe physically inflicting pain to the person, on someone. When they say gender-based, they say, I know from research, they say women, female, are more prone to the, they are the victim. But then it's a two-way thing. Though the percentage is higher when it comes to female
than
the male, but the male too face it. It's a two-way thing. So inflicting physical pain or hurting people emotionally or psychologically, those are the ones that are very common.
All right, you made a statement there. You said, sometimes, though I made that statement too, but I don't know, something just hits me now. Sometimes when we're having communications, we begin to think through and, become creative with statements. I don't know. I feel in the aspect of men, I think men's, you said something that, it's more experience with women than men. What's your parameter to this particular justice? Is there something that makes you feel that men too don't experience it as much as women when we talk about this issue of gender-based violence?
At first, you see, the creation of man in the first place When I say man, that is man and woman, because biblically, we both gender we are maybe
termed under the term man.
You see, when they created the male first, the female came out of man. You get? So we understand that the higher percentage of male, they are stronger than the woman.
Yeah, by biology.
You get? So now men, like the male, tend to be like hybrid. We are very stronger. So sometimes, most times, when the intention may not even be to hurt this person, in many occasions, when you tend to communicate, maybe unknowingly or unintentionally, you tend to hurt this person, because sometimes you may lose yourself, depending on the circumstances, depending on the situation on ground. You may have an argument with a female, maybe male and female having argument, maybe partners, maybe husband and wife having argument. Maybe this female must have pushed you so far that you lost yourself, you lost your consciousness. Before you know it, you've maybe hit the female, but that wasn't the intention. So it happens. Cases like this happens constantly. You get? So not to talk of the one that intentionally, this is your plan. This is your plan, because maybe the attitude of the female, and you think it should be someone that should be worshiping you because you are higher.
Normal expectations.
You get the idea of a normal African
ideology that the man is higher, the woman is lower.
So if this woman, the female, tend to do the opposite, instead of worshiping you, obeying the command, doing everything you say, it tends to maybe sometimes argue with you, question your authority. You get? So things like that, you hear something like, one day I'll clip your wings.
No, but you know why I actually made a statement? Because I feel men suffer silently. I was telling someone that particular statement majorly, that I'm sorry, we are all men in this place actually, but we know most of the times men suffer silently, because a man can, most of the times, the violence attached to men is more emotional and psychological than even the female sometimes, because, and the truth is, they will tell you, you are a man, just chest it. They will tell you, you are a man, men don't cry. But growing up, we've seen multiple instances of violence to men, and they will tell you a man is not supposed to cry or show weakness. Just chest it. Sometimes I feel that's the reaction that man brings out of themselves when they are pushed maximum to the wall, because they always look for points to express, because a man will never express his pain. But women, if you just touch a woman on the hand, the next thing they will, he has killed me. You understand? No, I don't. So I think, from my own perspective, that's why I tried to ask that, what parameter are we using to make justice of this? That, are we saying, is it because of the fact that one is louder than the other? But you made a statement when we were talking, actually, you said due to the fact that the way it has been placed in our own. Now I'm looking at the influences towards gender-based violence. We are in Africa, the peculiarity of Africa as a place. How much do you think culture, tradition, morals has contributed to this issue of gender-based violence in Nigeria, in Africa generally?
Yes, our tradition, morals, and everything have a higher influence on the dramatic violence we see today. You see, due to the way the mind of man was grafted before time. You get this knowledge that man is supposed to be on top. You get, with that ideology, man seem to think that they should be the leader, they should be at the forefront of everything. You get? So women now trying to rise to normalize everything, to like demanding that we have this equality, so that if man have 60 or 60%, like 40, you get, because I don't think they are even asking of 50-50 majority of them, though majority of them still ask for 50-50 equality. But I'm just saying, from my own perspective, even when the female gender are actually saying, okay, as a man, we'll take 60, let us take 40, it's becoming a challenge to them. Like, this is what we've been brought up to be, this is the idea we have. No, them coming now is a threat to the male gender. So that is why it's difficult. Majority of male gender don't even want to buy the idea, because they are still under the impression that female should be under. In short, I know some people are still with the opinion that the place of female should be in the kitchen. You understand? That one, I don't think we can totally abolish or get rid of that idea. You know, in our lives, especially as an African. You know, so situations like this, I know I will say outrightly that culture plays a very big role to what we see today, because you know, before we talk about tomorrow or 10 years to come, it's what we plant, the seed we plant today that will reap tomorrow, and then we enjoy with it. So whatever we sow, we sowed, or our ancestors
sowed our culture and tradition.
No, this is what that's the manifestation of what we are seeing today. So culture plays a very big role.
You indeed have mentioned one, a culture. I tend to actually wonder, because while we're talking, I was thinking they should definitely stem from somewhere. What then becomes the root cause of this gender-based violence, and how best to address it? You did mention a culture. Is it African culture or general culture? Is it more like African mentality where we believe a woman should or must be under, or is it more like a general concept, but we tend to just glorify it to a point where it's now unimpressive anymore, at the point where it's now negative?
You know, I cannot place it like human culture entirely, because if you take a look at the percentage of the development, like female development in the world, in the entire world, you will see that looking at Africa and maybe looking at a country like maybe USA, UK, places like that, you see the level that female genders are right now today, then compared to Nigeria, like, or Africa per se. So I would say it's African culture, because from onset, Africa, this is where we strongly believe with that. We have that grip that female, they're supposed to be in the kitchen. You know, when white countries, they are female, they were already discovering things. They were already educated. Here, the mentality, the way we were brought up is that this is the work of the male gender. The male gender is supposed to, work, provide, whatever is supposed to be discovered is male gender. Parents choose to send male children to school, educate them.
Country, yeah.
You get and educate them. While the female, they say, don't worry, when it will be a waste of money if I send you to school now. After all, at the end of the day, you end up in a husband's house, in another man's house, and bear another man's name, become part of that family. So they did not even think to the extent that who knows what will happen in the future, that the male you are even sending to school, anything can happen. What if they die? Or thinking that to that extent, that this female, if you send them to school, even after marrying, they may still be of help. So I would just say this is African culture. That's where the issue lies.
I think to an extent, though, I would like to bring something to perspective. I really understand your points, and I can't totally disagree with you. I just want to bring something to perspective, because I was looking at the history books recently, and I discovered that in Africa we've had mighty people who were women too in pre-colonial times. Efunsheto and Niura, many of them, even not just in Nigeria. We had them in Ghana. There is a tribe in Ghana where when you marry, you even take the woman's name, not the man's name. Strength. Egypt, which happens to be the abode of civilization, over their time in Egypt has historical artifacts that showed women played a strong role in their economy, in everything. I think the role of the woman was just less communicated. I even think I would want to even bring something to perspective that it's just a ball of something that we can all contend with. I even feel there was a time even the whites, there was a time in the United Kingdom, this phenomenon of women arising, and even in the European world, is a recent phenomenon from my own perspective, because there are many books that we read in literature that you see the name of a man there, but it was actually written by a woman. Because women dared not to even vote or take up some kind of responsibilities. Everybody end up in the kitchen. So I think it's a worldwide phenomenon. I think there was just something that happened, an awakening happened, that a particular gender should be seen in another light because they have the efficiency. I think Africa used to have that. We dumped that and began to adopt this one. So this one, I think, to a very large extent, if we were to go deeper into history, is even strange to the African community than the European community. Because in Africa, from history, if you read through the history books, you will discover that women played really vital roles. It's only in Africa you will find that, in fact, some of the Yoruba Orishas that they worshipped, women were many amongst them. You will see Oya, you will see Oshun, you will see Yemoja. Many of them were women who were of extreme character. So my own point is, I don't really know at what point we entered into this line of women is just supposed to be in the kitchen. And I think I'm looking at something here. I think is religion. I don't know. Can we really focus on the role religion has played a bit to bring us into this light? I don't.
Now,
is it really a light right now, or darkness?
Before we even talk about religion, me personally, I cannot disagree with what you've said so far. But now we need to ask ourselves, what sacrifices? What did they sacrifice to be where they were? Do you understand? Because I believe before any woman arrive at a particular point of being recognized in the world, they must have worked like times 5 of what they are doing in the initials, yeah. You get? So they must have sacrificed a lot. I'm not disputing. Yes, you are right. But then they must have sacrificed. They must have fight so many entities, so many people, so many like great people, men in the highest places. They must have fight a lot before they get to where they are today. Because if you look at the percentage, the number of female compared to men, you will understand what I'm saying.
Definitely.
It happens. But you know that so many people were against them. You know, like before we began to acknowledge women, like the 25th of November, that everybody is coming out to support women, trying to abolish the gender-based violence. So it started at when 3 activists were killed unjustly, Mirabel sisters. So it started from there until when the United Nations now pick a day. So celebrate these people. So starting from there, it now becomes a global thing. Everybody now pick that day, join in that light to raise their voice to say enough is enough. Let's try to stick together, avoid killing women or whatever the case may be. You get? So rising, sometimes if we don't experience something horrible, we will never take a stand. Just
which
like
is very true, actually.
Just like as maybe a political figure, someone very high, so that if anything happens, once I place a call, everything is settled. So being in that position, in a position like that, nothing really affects me. So until something affects me like directly,
that is when I will begin to stand up.
That is when I will wake up. Seeing the light, seeing what is happening. At that point, I may not even think of what other people must have gone through before it reached me, right? So I'm just fighting to settle my own situation. So places like that, things like that happen. If it doesn't get directly to you, nothing will be done. We're still living in the light of everything is okay. You see a government official coming out to be in Nigeria. We are rich.
Talking about the whole issue of government official, I even like the fact that the wife of the president came out to this. I remember that was in the last administration. That was Buhari's administration. She was a sitting senator, actually. And one of our colleagues in the Senate House was caught in a sex shop. He happens to be a Christian politician too as well, like talk about a Christian politician. He was caught in a sex. Why I put that was because when this current government was about getting elected, it was one of those shouting everywhere that they should have picked one of them. And we looked at his character then, and we discovered that he was very involved in gender-based violence during his time. He was in a sex shop with a lady. What are you even as a politician finding in the sex shops? Because I think Nigeria needs to rediscover their political system. And there, slapped a young lady. And the current first lady was one of the senators that sat in the panel that meted out punishments to him and looked for means to also reintegrate him, because you don't totally take someone out of the system. Picture, many times we make them realize first, we reform and we rehabilitate, because I feel this is something we need to even do, not just to him, to many men. So one of the things I discovered is that this thing is a problem affecting almost a large crop of the society. Many people out there will say, okay, he's majorly rampant in the northern part of the country, but I live in the southern part of the country. I know how many times I've witnessed women being brutalized in my presence. Not just women, even men, by women. There are some men that will say, I stand in my house, but in the actual sense, the woman is the leader of the house. I know that. But now looking at this, what pattern? Now, I like the fact that the first lady came out to talk about this. United Nations set about a date to talk about this. But do you think there are logical means and logical steps we can make use of to, rehabilitate people to, look into this thing and not be involved in it?
It's very simple. From my own perspective, I would say treat whoever sits or is next to you the same way we want to be treated. You get? It's that simple. Give out what you would like to receive. Don't look at gender. Do not look at the level. Do not just give it out however you want people to place you, however you want people to rate you. Just give it out to other people the same way. If we all have that ideology, that mindset, believe me, we will eliminate this into the barest minimum.
Eliminating to the barest minimum.
No, I tend to wonder, for survivors particularly, what then becomes the consequences for survivors? Physical consequence, emotional, even psychological consequence, because I know they don't really exactly leave that place without a scar, they say. So what are the consequences for those scars?
I think before we look at the consequences of the scars, actually, let's first go on a break first. When we're back from the break, we'll look majorly at the consequences of the various scars that affect the victims of gender-based violence. Please stay with us. So welcome back to the show. Before we went on the break, actually, I told us that our good guest, Mr. Sylvester here, was going to talk to us about the consequences of the scars to those who experience the gender-based violence. Now, lead us through the place of the consequences, like Ezekiel asked before we went on the break.
The consequences, it varies. It depends on the personality, the human people, circumstances. Like there are some things I may take lightly personally. There are some things, that same thing, if another person or like you, like they experience it, that may wear you down, like drive you to the rock bottom. You get? So it varies. It's just depending on the circumstances, but the effect is massive. Sometimes the victims, after having that traumatic experience, for instance, say you've been in a very toxic relation, or let's just say toxic marriage, where you not just verbal abuse, you'll be like a punching bag. You'll be receiving slap on daily basis. If at the end of the day you escaped that particular situation alive, it will take a toll on you. Sometimes you see Africans say that they do not believe in what do they call it? I I don't know the word to, but meeting a professional, you know, to sort.
Yeah, we don't have. How many goes to see a therapist in Africa?
Exactly, that's the word, therapist. They say we don't believe in it, but I believe that people like that can help a lot. They are really needed. They can help us a lot, because while we are confused, because after the situation, sometimes we will be confused. Sometimes it will be very difficult to socialize. It will even be very difficult to talk about this to people. You'll be thinking of what would people think about me? A shame and all those things. It will be difficult to open up to people. Sometimes before you are even set free of that circumstance, it has to be a fight. Maybe some other person will have to step in, because personally, if you are in this for a very long time, your self-esteem is totally broken. You are down. Sometimes if anybody, maybe another person, walk up to you and say you are nothing, you cannot achieve anything, you accept it. It enters
psychology.
You get it, enters. So it takes help. You need help at that point, because socializing is a problem. Sometimes coming out of there, you need a very loving people around you to drive you out of that situation, that deep black hole that you are at the moment. So, and then coming to the aspect of, say, maybe it's just verbal. Someone has been abusing you verbally for a long time. That point, say, the hitting is not even included. That one too, the verbal alone, because while the verbal and the hitting and the slapping affect you mentally, like psychologically and physically, because at some point, slapping, beating you may end up dead before your time. Some people lose eye. Some people tend to lose any part of the body. You get? So, but only verbal abuse, that one goes psychologically. That is, like I said before, we really need the help of a professional. We should get rid of that ideology of, okay, an African man or woman, we don't need a therapist. Because while you are confused, anybody that will come to you, talk to you, because asking you question, how did it happen? First of all, you have to acknowledge that you need help.
That's the first thing. I think that's a very big problem.
You have to acknowledge that you need help
first.
You get? And then you have to be able to tell the story, because when you are able to face whatever troubled you, you can say it out and say, this is what happened, this is what happened. That is the beginning. First, accept you need help. Secondly, accept, be able to talk about it, because at the end of the day, when the help comes, you should be able to communicate.
At least so that they can know where
how
to come in.
You get, and how to help you. You get. So those are the things.
You did mention a valid point, saying Africans, or I shouldn't speak for Africans, I speak for Nigerians. We don't believe in therapy. We believe it is for the West. You just can't sit in front of someone and start telling the person all your problems and believe.
I think because of the natural African beliefs, they will cast the problem. That's just immediate.
Well, actually, where I'm headed for at this point. Now, we tend to believe in spirituality. We believe if you're being abused in a relationship or whatever, just stay there, pray and fast, and something's going to happen. We are very religious. We believe if you're being hit by your wife or your husband, do nothing about it, just stay in the house, rather lock yourself in the room and pray and fast, and somewhere, somehow, something could just happen. I don't know if you have a thing or two to say on that.
I'm not disputing, I'm not advising anybody not to pray and fast too. But my own point is, don't you think while praying and fast,
you also take steps?
Making a step, taking action will fast track everything. Because if you are just indoors or in your house praying, fasting, kabashing, and all those things, God is listening. You are praying, I am praying. You know the billions of people that are praying
at the same time.
I know that God is can just, and everything happen at the same time. But do you know that there are certain things that could obstruct our prayers? So while praying and fasting and shouting, disturbing other people, if we pray, the same energy we put into prayers and fasting we now direct that same energy into working toward, solving our problem.
Yeah, viable solutions.
You get solutions to our problem. It will make it faster. We'll get the solution faster than sitting in or staying in
a coven
for 10 years, for 20 years, before you even see someone asking you, what is going on? That's the beginning. Someone will just, are you okay? After 10 years or 20 years.
Because and one funny thing about problems like that is it sticks. I don't know. I'm just speaking from general thing. I recently met a young lady and I asked her, she said she hates men. She hates men. I saw some of her views. I saw some of her social media posts, and I'm like, what really happened? She was just, ladies that form this stuff. Then there was a particular day for the first time I saw her cry. And then we talked deep. One of the things I discovered is a wound unhealed is like bone structures. I began to discover that if your bone gets broken, I play football, I coach, I do those kind of things. So if a bone gets broken, we do all things to ensure that first things first, we adjust it quick before we begin to put balms and all that to it. Because if you leave it that way, it has a capacity of sticking like that as time goes by, because the body will naturally want to adjust to it. I feel many Nigerians just adjust to the problems, and to a very large extent is the reason why we have imbalanced families today. Many ladies, many guys are getting married in such a point that they've not really healed from the trauma they experienced from the past. So we are taking traumas into marriage. We are raising kids in traumas. And there's this new trend I see on social media. I was trying to ask one day, maybe I will ask you, maybe you will just bring me to light to this. Like, you will see guys, I watched the popular goalkeeper in Nigeria. They asked him what kind of woman does he like. He said, fine and a bit toxic. I'm like, why do you want a toxic person around you? What's fun about being toxic? You see a lady that she's in a relationship, she breaks up with the guy, and you ask her, why did you break up? Said it's the marriage, the relationship is boring. We don't argue. It doesn't beat
opposite
me.
attracts, they say. So
it
has a little bit of spice.
But why do they make noise, shout when it backfired?
That's the thing.
Since opposite attracts, you like the touch of violence.
They like a touch, not the entire violence, just a touch of it.
Just a touch. Now, I don't know where a touch is more.
That touch you are talking about, normally, when it comes to whoever, human, we are evolving.
Yeah, we are evolving.
If something is one, in the next 10 years, it will grow.
Inflation.
So you cannot expect that little touch to remain a little touch for a long time. It will grow, it will keep growing. So whatever you want, I think we should actually, keep open hand and open mind. However the case may be, accept it, because this is what you wanted. Don't shout, especially if you come see, I'm waiting for the day I will see someone previous post, I want saying this is what I want. At the end of the day, you will start shouting.
Get it, and you are complaining. Because there is a particular lady is trending on social media. She's one of the a public figure, and she also said the same thing and people attach such things to maybe their zodiac signs. Honestly, I think our generation hides under a lot of things to just behave in one kind of way. But I know, because our discussion here is revealing a lot, that people are passing through a lot. Now, the violence here we're talking about, for those just joining us, is not just physical. Emotional is involved. There are people that they can't do well in life just because of what they've been told. Sometimes, many of us experience it from our schools. I know how many times my teachers traumatized many of us with canes. And like the cane wasn't enough, you still told us you are good for nothing. Till tomorrow, there are some students that they are good for nothing. Sticks to their mind that that's the reason for drugs. You can't make it, you can never make it, and all those kind of things. So statements like that, I don't know. And then before I go into this question I want to ask, let me pen this question. I think we need to address a bit of religion more, to a large extent. Now, not just the Christian religion. I think we have a point in this country where we have more men of God, both Islamic, Christian, or maybe the Gordianists, than actual psychologists who discusses problems with people. Do you think there is anything the government can do to ensure that we have a society that has more of these people amongst us? They call them neuroscientists, they call them therapists, that can actually talk to people based on problems like this?
First of all, I said that African, generally, we don't believe, these meeting a professional to share your problem, especially when it comes to psychological matters, like therapists. And even Ezekiel was very happy that I made a point. As if he's in that group that, the group that said we don't need it, we are okay, we are very okay by ourselves. So, and I also said that before anybody can help, before you can get help, you have to, first of all, accept that I need this thing. You have to, first of all, accept that, okay, I am broken, I need help. Help will not just fall from heaven. If we keep, rolling with this idea that, okay, we are fine by ourselves, we do not need therapists, we do not need a professional help, we'll continue like this. So it starts with us. If, okay, one person starts, like these days, most times, everything happens on social media. Whatever we post, another person will copy. Like we said something about our popular goalkeeper saying that need a little bit of,
toxic.
You get. It started somewhere. Sometimes this is not even what we don't even think much or deep into it. We just want to, create a post that will go viral. Or maybe someone, we want to copy what the other person said. If you look at social media very well, you will see that if a particular post come out, this thing, it has not been in existence. Someone just sit down and think of something and do
write it,
before you know it. Another person will copy. It becomes a trend. So it may not really be okay. Oh, I am into this, but just for it to trend. That's the idea. So someone will just do something unknowingly. You don't even know what you are getting yourself involved in, and you are selling it. You are selling the idea by copying it and posting it. You are selling the idea. So at the end of the day, a kind of new normal. People buy into it and they start believing in it, because whatever we believe in, that is what we manifest. That is faith for you. You keep devoting your time and your resources, your thought, everything in a particular thing. After a while, after a long time, this is going to become a part of you. It will become a part of you. So, first of all, we have to acknowledge we need this. Governments can do it. But these days we have to shout and shout and shout before government will even start,
involving
themselves. So if we keep believing that we are okay by ourselves, I don't think anything will happen. We have to acknowledge this is what we want. We need it before I believe government will take over from there.
Well, I don't know how government will tend to change the mind, of people psychologically or emotionally. At some point, I know Joshua is not the guest here, but at some point he made it sound as if religion is a no. Religion has to do with someone's belief.
No.
And you did mention zodiac signs. I mean, we have zodiac signs, we have numerology, we have astrology, various things. But you tend to act as if it doesn't matter. It has to do with someone's belief. What if you make it this way? Say if it works for you, then it's okay. People tend to believe in something and if it works for them, it works for them. But to make it seem as if religion, off the way, a zodiac, I don't believe in zodiac sign anyway, but off the way, and then it's more like it's meant for the government to build a support system. I can't really.
What I was trying to
that.
actually say majorly was I think I don't doubt people's religion actually.
Let's just use the word believe at this point. People's
beliefs and all that. You are free to your beliefs, but I believe something, which is one thing, and I believe a society, no matter if we are to say religion, some particular religion appreciates pedophilia. Let's be sincere with ourselves.
Yes.
And according to society, the way society is currently, even in the Nigerian constitution, pedophilia is not permitted. But the constitution is silent on it in some particular regions where those beliefs are prominent. But if we are to stand as a society, we know this is not permitted. Some people's belief, like I said earlier, is not very popular in Africa, or whereas on the underground it is well spread. Homosexualism, we all know not everybody believes in homosexualism in Africa, even though we know that in the background it is very
Somewhere.
existent.
You get.
We get, but we can't just. So I believe beyond religion, there should be a common grounds of I know what you believe, but this is the thing. You can't tell me that you are very disrespectful today, or you like trouble today, and you just tell me that's who I am because of according to my zodiac sign. I will tell you there are many people that are well behaved that have the same zodiac sign like you do, and they don't claim or attribute anything, because I believe before you attribute your problems to religious beliefs, we are first humans. If you are brought up in a home where they don't greet elders in the morning, you will think greeting elders is irrelevant. If you go out of the country, you realize that greeting elders is not that important. But in African culture, you have to greet elders according to 80% of cultural and religious beliefs in Africa. So there should be a common ground where we can agree and accept. That's my own thing. That's why
In other words, talking about legislative.
attributing.
Let me say something there. You see, I don't really believe, because I used to hear overseas they don't really value creating elders. To me, my own perspective, I don't think
they value it.
I
in
don't
some
think
places.
they don't value. You get? You see, there's sometimes that if you do something and get away with it, that person that is trying to chase you, chasing you, will chase you, keep chasing you, he cannot get to you. At some point, you retreat. You get? So I think, you see, when it comes to things like this, there are laws. Now in Nigeria, how many do we even pay attention to laws? Do we obey it?
That's one great.
So now overseas, you see, because everything is started at a particular point. Overseas, if you threaten or if you try to correct a child, one day a child will stand up and threaten you, knowing that there are laws that are to be followed. They will now, like, once you turn 18, there are certain things that your parents are not supposed to demand from you, are not supposed to do to you. There are certain decisions you are supposed to take for yourself. That's you are right. You get? So sometimes I think we have to understand that, like what the Bible said, when you value, like if you say you want to live, you're already dead. When you think, okay, you have this ideology, okay, I'm already dead, you are alive, you will live. So what I think is, if as a child, trying to put a child in a right way, you think, some people think, oh, if I shout at a child, I'm not loving the child, that's not showing the child, I'm abusing the child. Already thinking that not scolding that child is love, you've lost the child already.
There's a tough part of love.
You've lost the child already. Because if you really love this child, you should think of
ways
what will happen tomorrow and ways to put this child in line. But I want
to ask something majorly. I think now that you've talked about children training and all that, parenting and everything, which you brought into play, the place of tough love and all that, don't you think it's, because I feel there are some abuses too that was attached to that already too as well. Do you think that, because I think there are extremities to things like that. I don't know. I was saying something not here, that I wish the government gets to a point where we have a social system that even checks the mental health of parents before they give birth to children. Important. So that we can check whether the person who is actually in charge of this child has the psychological balance to take care of a child, aside from the financial aspect, like some countries do in the world. But looking at it, because I think some of these abuses too are attributed to even parenting to a very large extent. Now, because I know gradually we are crescendoing, we are going down to where we'd have to draw conclusions on some things and propose solutions. How best do you think parenting, or let's say our agents of socialization, if I talk about agents of socialization, I'm talking about religion, the government, the media, because media towards their contributions, social media especially, one of the places where gender-based violence really is being promoted more, though it's also having the good effect of exposing it and trying to look for means to solve such problems. But also there are some problems that also emanated from social media. Social media bullying is there too as well. Body shaming is very popular on social media. We never talk, body shaming too is a form of abuse, and many of those things. So the social media, parents, how do you think they can all contribute to ensure that this problem can cool down totally in the years to come?
Sometimes when we talk about government, we fail to acknowledge or to realize that we ourselves,
We are the
we are government, we are the government. So everything, it has to start from us, from you and me. If you keep sitting down talking about I'm expecting this from government, you without making a move, taking action, starting from you, it will never happen. Government too is, you may say the president is a government. Is he not a human being?
He's a human being.
What if he say, okay, let this happen, this is what I want all the Nigerians, the citizens to do, and nobody obeys? What will happen? So what I'm saying is we should start from ourselves. Whatever when you keep saying, having in your mind, this is what the government should do, let's start it within us. Get, like you've said, everything, social media, religion, this and that, but I know this happened, everything, there are risk to it, there are advantages and disadvantages. But one thing I don't, until tomorrow, I will never accept is educational system setting up a school and just telling no punishment, saying no punishment, even if a student do this, no punishment. For what? What kind of future are you trying to build? You get no punishment for what? And you carry your child, into a school that you pay a huge sum of money and no punishment. That is where the problem starts. Because as a child, as young, okay, you start from crèche, checking from there. That's where it started. No punishment. If your child do anything right, no teachers should yell or scream at your child. Not even talk of beating, using cane on a child. Enters nursery school, same thing.
Primary school,
same thing.
Secondary school, same thing.
Higher institution, at the end of the day, this person will now come into the system. At the end of the day, may become going away with everything he or she has done, all the wrong thing he has done, getting away with it. That's telling the person that, okay, you can do anything. Nothing is wrong. Everything is okay. Whatever you do is their right. You can never abolish punishment from educational system, please. No, there should be, okay, you may say, okay, do not hit a child. I will know there are ways that teachers should go extreme. But you too, setting up a school, there have to be principles. If a teacher overdo, punish the teacher, but do not totally abolish punishment from the school system. That is part of our problem. Because as a child, if you know doing this thing, I'll be flogged, or they will punish me in a way, or I will miss one of my entitlements. A child will think about it before doing it. This is how you groom children to become better people in the society. This is where our problem too comes from. Everything we see today, it started from there. Because in our days, I may not be that old, but the school I attended, where they brought me up, there is nothing that you do this thing wrong and then go scot-free. My parents will even come to the school, tell my teachers if he or she, my siblings, if they do anything wrong, discipline them.
Because discipline actually is very good. And many of the times, many of the abusers we have in our society too as well are grossly indisciplined people, bullies and all those kind of things. But then every discipline has its limits.
Yes.
There are all limits to everything, so that we don't wound people or abuse them emotionally, abuse them physically, and abuse them based on their gender. Because gender-based abuse is very important. And like we said earlier, we've said a lot today. We've talked about the fact that men too experience such abuses. Sexually, physically, mentally, psychologically, men experience it, women experience it. Though I think I won't say that women experience it more than men. I think there is just a more louder gender than the other about their problems. Actually, if men begin to talk about their problem, like we all,
they will come for you for that statement.
Because of our beliefs, I'm sure they say a closed mouth is a closed destiny. So women, they are very proud of that aspect of shouting, making noise everywhere.
But that's just it actually do. Men experience it, women. They come for me. I like people that come for me actually. It's going to come. But thanks so much, Sylvester, for being a part of this topic today. I think it's been a very great discourse so far. And we're just talking to all our viewers out there. Please try as much as possible. Ensure that you stay off violence, stay off abuse, stay off gender-based violence. You can't hit a woman or hit a man today, or maybe wound them psychologically and physically and expect a very good society. You are only killing yourself and you are killing us more. It's a weekend. Have fun, enjoy time, enjoy people. Not everybody is a fake friend. And for many of us who have been passed through in all this kind of violence, please admit to yourself the truth. You need help. Realize this. You need help. Seek professional help today, and trust me, it's going to help you. It's going to help the society as well.
To bring us to an end for Daybreak Africa for the week. You do have a wonderful weekend ahead. See you same time, same station, Monday morning. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
And my name is Ikhonede Joshua Yodeji. Have a nice weekend. Bye.